Hello YouTube, I'm the Foam Witch, and in this video I'm going to show you how to make Sienna Shaw's costume from Terrifier 2. So hit that thumbs up button, subscribe if you haven't already, and let's do this. The first thing I needed to do was to come up with a template. To do this, for most of the pieces, I used cling film around the body part, covered it in masking tape, and drew the template directly on top of that. There is a link to the template in the description of this video if you want to make this for yourself. The first pieces that I made was for the leg armour. The base for these was cut out of 5mm foam, drawing around the template for the right leg, flipping it over to give the template for the left leg. These then got heated up with the heat gun and given that curve. These sections of the template then got cut out. These also got cut out of 5mm foam, again flipping the templates to give the pieces for the right and the left side. All of these detail pieces then got stuck on. The glue I used for this build was contact adhesive. To round off the edges of these pieces because they were looking very straight, I just took the Dremel with a sanding barrel attachment and sanded them all down. Make sure to wear full PPE when you're doing this because that foam dust gets everywhere. I honestly think that sanding foam is one of the most important steps in crafting because it can take your piece from looking like this, which is quite straight and blocky, to lovely and clean like this. It's just one of those extra steps that can take your project to looking so much more professional. To make these wearable, I added some watch straps to the back, which gave them a bit of adjustability when wearing them. I then repeated that whole process for the gauntlets, which is pretty much the same shape, just smaller. Again, cutting out the pieces from 5mm foam, sticking them all together, sanding them down to make them super clean, and then adding the watch straps to the back. The build for the gauntlets and the leg armour was then complete. I then moved on to making the belt. I designed a 3D file for the belt buckle that I then 3D printed. The link to this is also in the description of the video in case you wanted to 3D print this for yourself. As this costume was not being made for myself, I did make these to the measurements I was provided. These are listed on the template in case you need to change the scale to make this for yourself. Once I was happy with the template shape for the belt, this got cut off the mannequin and then traced onto 5mm foam for the bottom piece. This belt is layered, so this piece of the template was then cut off to give the next layer, with this layer being cut out of 3mm foam, and again cutting off the next section of the template to give the top layer, which was also cut out of 3mm foam and then stuck on top. The layers of the belt were then complete. Some Velcro and elastic then got added to the back, and again this gives it a little bit of adjustability to make it bigger or smaller. I then had to come up with a template for the skirt of the belt, and I'll be honest, this was a right pain. But I got there in the end, and this piece gets cut out of 3mm foam, cut it out twice for the front and the back. The template for the skirt section comes in two parts, the lower layer which has 3 segments and the top layer which has 4, just stick one on top of the other. You will also need to cut one segment off at the end and cut this out to give the 2 side pieces. I 3D printed these little rivet details and stuck one in the middle of each of the belt segments. Once the buckle got stuck onto the front, the belt was complete. It was then time to make the chest plate, and to make the base for this I used the corset template from Cosplay. You will need to download this template to make it for yourself. I will link it in the description of the video. The base for the chest armour got cut out of 5mm foam. Once the corset base was built, it did need a little bit of cutting and shaping to make it the right shape for Sienna. A bit at the bottom needed cutting off, which you can see is the curved line here, and it also needed 2 kind of horn shapes at the top of the chest area. You can use the detail pieces on my template as a guide to cut out and add these sections. It was then time to start building up the detail on the chest plate, starting with this piece at the bottom. This got cut out of 5mm foam, stuck on, and then sanded with the Dremel. This diamond shape got cut out of 3mm foam with a 3mm section on top to give the edge, and then got stuck in the middle of the chest area like this. I 3D printed this ring and then stuck this in the middle of a folded piece of 3mm foam. This then got cut to shape around the diamond and then stuck on. It was then time to try and come up with the rest of the detail for the chest plate. I covered the base in masking tape and then just looking at the reference photos, I drew on the detail until I was happy with how it looked, which gave the design of the template that looked like this. I then had to flatten this template and cut it out, which was a little bit tricky. Then cutting out the bottom section only, I don't know why I've put the top piece on, it wasn't needed in the end. This also got cut out of 5mm foam and stuck on in the area shown here. The largest detail piece was then cut out of 3mm foam and stuck on following the area of the cups and the horn pieces at the top. All of the edges then got sanded down with the Dremel, again just to tidy everything up. And this is how it was looking once all of those edges were lovely and tidy. It was then a case of getting rid of the stray glue marks and any pen lines using some white spirit. This just gets added to some cotton buds and the glue and the pen marks wiped away. And this is how it was looking once it was all tidy. To make it wearable and so that it opened and closed, I attached some of this corset string to the back. I then threaded a piece of black velvet string through those holes. Then moving on to the shoulder pad, starting with this piece of the template, the little darts you see here need gluing together to give it the round shape. The curved piece goes on the top of the shoulder pad, and then there's 3 darted pieces that go underneath. This is labelled on the template because you need to cut 2 of one and 1 of the other. Some edging got added to each of the dart shaped pieces. I forgot to film that, so sorry, but it was just cut out of strips of 3mm foam and then added around the edge. I 3D printed these little cone shapes that then got stuck to the top. The shoulder pad then got attached to the chest plate using a leather strip attached to the front and the back. Once all of that was finished, the build of the Sienna suit was finally complete. I wanted to fill in some of the noticeable seam lines, so I took some of this epic flexi filler from the incredible Tig supplies. Using a silicone brush, this just got spread into any of those gaps. And once it was completely dry, it got a wet sand with some fine grit sandpaper to make it super smooth. It was then time to seal all the parts before painting, and I used my favourite sealer, which is black flexi paint, again from the incredible Tig supplies. Most of the materials and also tools that I use in this video have been supplied by Tigs, so make sure you go and check them out because their stuff is incredible for your crafting. I just want to say sorry if you can hear any background noise from this point on in the video. We're currently experiencing a storm in the UK, but I really need to get this audio finished, so if you can, please just ignore it. To seal all the foam before painting, I brushed on 3 layers of the flexi paint by hand, and then I sprayed on 2 layers through my airbrush to make it super smooth. Once the flexi paint was all fully dry, it was then time to move on to the painting. All of the pieces got painted in the same colour of paint, apart from the belt and the diamond in the middle of the chest plate, which has a bit of copper added to it. The paints I used for this costume were all Vallejo airbrush paints. The shade of brown was called Gorgon Brown, and the shade of gold was called Polished Gold. All of the pieces got painted in the same order, so I painted the brown first. Once that was dry, I masked that off and painted the gold. Then I used a watered down shade of dark wood to add some detailing around the gold, which kind of blended it together and made it look a little bit more realistic. This is how it looked once one of the pieces was fully painted. As you can see, the brown is very matte, and in the movie it's got a shine to it. So to add this gloss shine, I used this gloss flexi paint top coat and I sprayed on 3 layers through my airbrush. This is quite a long video, my friends, so if you're still watching, huge thank you, and if you're liking it, make sure to subscribe to my channel. Hopefully here you can see the difference that top coat has made to the brown. This is how it looked once the chest plate and the shoulder piece had been fully painted. Here you can see there's a bit of copper in the centre diamond, and the rivet and the ring have been painted silver. It was then time to paint the belt. First, using the polished gold, the buckle, the skirt and the top layer of the side pieces got painted in this gold. The middle layer got painted in copper, and the bottom layer got painted in the Gorgon brown. All of the edges then got detailed with that watered down dark wood paint. The middle of the buckle and the top tiny bird skull got painted in the Gorgon brown and again detailed with the dark wood paint. And all of the rivets on each of the skirt pieces then got painted in silver. This also then got sprayed with the gloss top coat. The belt has some chainmail on either side, so for ease of making and also speed, I 3D printed this. This then got painted with the silver. It then got attached to either side of the belt, like you can see here. Sienna has a little pouch on the back of the belt, so I purchased this, but I did paint it a darker shade of brown. I then attached the foot plates to the leg armour using elastic, and I've only just come to realise that I did not show how I made these. I didn't even record it, I'm so sorry, but it's just 3 layers of 3mm foam layered on top of each other. It is on the template though. Once all of the painting and the attachments had been added, the Sienna Shaw costume was finally complete. I can't even begin to explain how thrilled I am with the finished result. This was months of my life and I was just so happy with how it turned out. There is already a video on my channel of how I made the wings, so go and check that out if you want to make those as well. But if you are still watching this video, I want to give you the most huge, massive thank you. If you've liked it, if you could give it a thumbs up, that would be awesome. And if you like crafting content like this and still have not subscribed to my channel, if you could do that now, that would be incredible. If you used my template or this video to help you make your own Sienna costume, please tag me in any photos because I really love to see the work that you come up with. So that's another video done. All I've got left to say is, I'll see you next time. Time to give a shout out to my channel members, and I now have 2, woohoo! The fact that you've chosen to show extra support to my channel means the absolute world, and it helps me keep doing what I do. As a channel member, you get early access to my videos and also early access to the templates, so that's pretty cool. So huge massive thank you to my channel members, and I'll see you in the next video.